You know, your roots, we built deep roots in that little neighborhood that lasted a lifetime. We didn't just move on and forget about it. There's a lot of people like me that still think about it. Yeah, the brick had a good smell, and it was just like rows, and they were like giant buildings, really, of bricks, and you could walk, you know, in between them. And sometimes on the way home from school, we'd play hide and seek, and it was just this big mountain of bricks, and they used to disappear and come right back up. I remember my father catching. He used to have these little rubber things that you put in your palm to cushion the blow from catching the bricks. Somebody would be throwing the bricks down to you, and then you to somebody else, because they would have these big pyramids full of bricks. And then, of course, they would be baked, and then to get them down. We were poor in the fact that they got paid so little, which really was for the hard work that they did. They got paid very little. The feeling that they were all working with their own crowd from Mexico, that made the work less difficult, because there was this camaraderie and this friendship amongst all of them that I guess took some of the tedious, you know, hard work. It made it seem a little more pleasant that they had this big family that worked there. But at night when we'd be sleeping is when these bricks would be baking, literally, and it sounded like a breathing sound, and it was almost like putting you to sleep, going to sleep to the sound of those bricks being baked. The dearest memory I have is of all the fathers that they worked so hard. I mean, you don't see people like that anymore. And they'd come home and they'd be tired, but they'd be satisfied. And all they wanted in life was to raise their family. Didn't ask for anything else. Didn't wish for a car or better clothes or to move out of Simons to a better place. They just lived from day to day to raise their families. And that's all they cared about. And getting more lumber to make the house more comfortable, to make it bigger, put shelves up on the wall for our books, put calendars in a frame to make the house more colorful. It's what you do with the four walls that you live in. It's not where the four walls are. And for the most part, even though he had back-breaking work all day, he was happy to come home. It's not till you grow up that you realize what they're like. They work so hard, and then they'd come home and wash off the red dust and have dinner, and like my father would often say after a tiring day, he would just take a deep sigh and he'd say, "Mañana es otro día." Tomorrow's another day. As long as you're not hungry and you're clothed and you're loved, what do you know about being poor? I think it's only the pangs of hunger and the neglect, you know, and when you're not cared for. That's when you feel poverty. Vale School was walking distance to all the children of Simons, and so we walked through the brickyard, and I was probably in kindergarten, and probably maybe 5 years old, and I was sick, and my mother kept me home, and my teacher showed up. She drove into that little dusty town, which white people would not venture into that little town because somehow they thought we were menacing or something. I don't know, just different, I guess. You know, you don't trust what's not known. And nobody answered the front door, so she came around the side to the backyard, and she found me in the backyard, and I have this sweet memory of her kneeling to get down to my level and saying, "Honey, where were you? We missed you, and why weren't you in school?" And I just felt myself just swell with amazement that she came to see me. And that's how the teachers were. They were wonderful with us. And even though that was a time of deep racism towards Mexicans, we never found any in our school. Our teachers were sweet and loving and affectionate. So that was a very good and important part of our life in Simons. Simons definitely did not hurt me, or I don't think it raised any underprivileged children. And I don't mean privileged in material things. I mean in values and upbringing. And I had this dream that I've had ongoing. It's not as frequent now as it was before, but when I married 40-some years ago, and I moved into my lovely tri-level home, which, you know, was a dream house compared to the little house the little shanty that I grew up in. So of course, to me, it was my dream house. It had staircases and 3 stories, and I thought it was my dream house. Well, we moved into it and settled in, and I started having this dream that my dream house is sitting in my street in Simons. Now, I don't know what that means, but I suspect it means don't forget where you came from. And I don't.